Well, good morning, everybody. Hello, and welcome again to Lessons from the Burning Bush. And so this part 3 section is about what it looks like for us to surrender to God. So let me read the passage to you, and again, I'll make a few short and quick reflections for us as we consider what it looks like for you and I to encounter God's presence and to turn aside. What happens when these moments, when we turn aside to God? What are some of the things that happen? Last week we looked at how we can be in awe and wonder of who our God is as we turn aside and feel His comfort and joy and His grace and all those kind of things. And now this week is, what does He call us into? And so listen to this. And it's again from Exodus 3, and it's from actually verse 3. It says, "And Moses said, I will turn aside, as we know, to see this great sight, why the bush is not burned." Now listen, watch this now. "When the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called to him," I love this, "out of the bush, Moses, Moses. And he said," listen to this, he says, "Here I am." Moses, Moses, here I am. And then he said, "Do not come near, take your sandals off your feet, for the place on which you are standing is holy ground." And he said, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look at God. And so there's a couple of reflections on this phrase. You know, when God says, Moses, Moses, is one of the things I love also, just even as a side point, is God is a speaking God. He's a God that invites us into a place of presence. It's not something He holds us away. He says, "Come closer." We know in the New Testament it says, "Boldly come into the throne of grace," right? It's like that God's always this invitational God. It says, "Come closer to me, man." It's in the Garden of Eden. It was like, "Hey, where are you? Come back to where." It's like always this heart of God is towards pursuing and calling us in. And then what happens in this moment when Moses is, like we know, lost, he's traveling around in this outback, and when God says, "Hey, Moses, Moses," the God who speaks, the God that knows your name, right? And He says, "Hey, Mornay, Jackie, whatever your name is," it's like this call of God to say, "Hey, come closer." And then what's beautiful here is Moses' response, and he says this, "Here I am." And I think this is one of my thoughts here for today. It's like, in the presence of God, there's this moment where we are surrendering and we're saying, "Here I am again." You know, did you know that there aren't many examples, only maybe 5 or 6 examples in the Bible where this happens, where people respond like this? And it's like, for example, with Abraham and Jacob, Moses, as we know, Samuel, Isaiah, Ananias in the New Testament, where it's like God will call their names, and then the response of the individual is to say, "Here I am." And this word of "here I am," which we got from Andy Blick, reminded me of this. He says, to answer Heneni, which is this Hebrew word, means, "Here I am ready and waiting to do your will." Here I am ready and eager to do your will. I'm here ready to partner with you in the eternal work of God's story. And so it's like this, I love how God says, "Hey, listen, man, I know your story is important. I know you love your life and so on." But it's like when God calls your name, He says, "Hey, Mornay, Jackie, Paul, David," whatever your name is. It's like the response is, hey, here I am. It's a call out of your story into His story. See, the presence of God is always going to want to elevate you out of your world into His world. He always does that. It's like, listen, your world is great, but God's world, God's story is a far more significant, purposeful story. And He calls us out of our stories that we have, out of our darkness. He calls us out of sometimes our shame, our confusion, and all kinds of things like that. That's just a postman. And He says, no, let me call you into this story of hope and love and mission and significance. And so as we reflect again this day, it's about, hey, listen, what does it look like for you and I in these 40 days of extended prayer? What does it look like for us to respond by saying, "Here I am. My life is not mine, my life is yours." Just like Jesus said, "Not my will be done, but your will be done." Jesus himself would always call people out of their stories, out of their lives, and say, hey man, respond here. And the response is, here I am. I want my life to matter. I want my life to be caught up into your story, into your life. Surrendering everything again for God, because he's a personal God. He's an awesome God. He's a powerful God. He's a loving God. And it's like, today, again, we could just say, Lord, here I am. What does it look like for you to surrender your life, to surrender things in your life, your worries, your concerns, to say, God, you can have them all. So, lesson from the burning bush, number 3 is say, listen, here I am. I surrender it all again to you. Here I am, God. Have my life. Do with it as you will. All right, so there we go. Lord bless you. Thank you for joining me, and see you next time. Bye.